Hey, what's up, and good morning, everybody. This is David Pendleton, and we're going to be talking about the Winter Major Tournament. And this is going to be Rookie Division. It's going to be the qualifying round, and how exciting! There's been some big changes to the game. If you're playing in Tier 3 Rookie, you're going to get to see some extra prizes that the game is giving away, which I think is really cool, and we can take a look at that right now. So, as you can see here, Tier 3 gives you 50 Berserker balls now and 30, Kingmakers. That is major to go along with 1,600 clan points if you're able to knock down a number 1 spot. Now, Tier 3 is it's no gimme to qualify, or to finish, this thing at the top. For sure. There's different layers within the tiers that I've recently learned, so that makes it a little bit more challenging as well. But ultimately, I do think, this first update is a good step in the right direction. I do think there's a lot more that could come with tiers and bracketing, and hopefully, we see some different types of changes in the future to sort of even level out the playing field even more. But regardless, let's go ahead and talk about, what we came here to see today, which is the qualifying round. Minus 15, we're going to take it, okay? And I consider this one extra drop. I do think that most people should be able to play this as a minus 14, really minus 13 worst case scenario, just simply for the fact that there are 2 par 4s with these wind angles that we are able to drive the green on, which is always nice. And then I did pick up kind of a fluky hole-in-one here as well. If you're not a subscriber, please become one. It would mean a lot to me. It would be awesome if we could get to 3,000 by the end of this tournament. We are 69 subscribers away, so let's make that happen. And if you like the video, take a second there to hit the thumbs up and, show some appreciation that way. Here are my notes. A lot of people ask me about notes, and I don't really ever show my notes just because they're kind of so sloppy. Normally, I write them down. But I decided to type them up today, which took a little bit more time. This isn't something I'm probably going to do a lot of, maybe in the future. But, this is, some people ask me how I take my notes. Well, this is it right here. I take my notes for hole number 1, and I figure out what goes well, what didn't go well. Then I hop over to my other rookie account and go off that. But hole number 1 is really easy for me, and we'll talk about for you in different clubs. But let's go. Hole number 1. Okay, so hole number 1, we're getting a little bit of headwind here. But the mile per hour is not that high because we're using a Kingmaker. So, I'm going to start off with this route here. You could, okay, so right there. If you have lower clubs, you could go right here on this middle patch of fairway and go full top spin and a couple bars, 2 or 3 bar side spin to the right. It would be easier for you to use a Berserker on that shot. And you could also go over here and use a Berserker. Now, I just want you to keep in mind that there is, of course, that creek there, that water that you could hit a water hazard on if you hit a bad shot. And there's a lot more rough to work with. We're going to take more time today, too, because it's a major. So hopefully that's okay. But look at all of this rough you have to work with here if you go this route. If you go this route here, it's only the small part of rough to get through. Now, yeah, you might have to chip in with your wedge to get the eagle. But, let's be honest. If you don't make that shot, and I would tell myself this included, if you don't make a wedge shot for an eagle, then, you just messed up. And you can't ask for a better scenario outside of putting in for an eagle than to be taking a wedge shot with an eagle. But for people that have an extra mile 8 or even a 7, you can use a Kingmaker and reach. No problem. If you have lower level clubs and you would like to go the same way as me, like I said, use a Berserker. I do not think you're going to make it with an extra mile 6 or below with a Kingmaker. I do believe you would get stuck in the rough. But however, you can see here that I power through this thing all the way, and I almost go into the rough on the back end here. So plenty of juice to get us there. That's going to leave us with shot number 2. Again, shot number 2, we're taking it with our wedge. And like I say, if you don't make this shot with your wedge, then, that stinks, and we got to practice our wedge shots a little bit better. But regardless, we do make this, and we pop hole number 1 with an eagle. Now, I do want to take a second here because I was kind of lucky that I got to see 2 opponents. So look at my notes here under hole number 1. See where it says also 2 opponents made it? That means to me they made their eagle. One person had an extra mile 7 and a kingmaker, and they ended up kind of like me. They didn't roll as far as me. They were on the fringe, and they were able to chip in for their eagle. And then an extra mile 5 and a berserker made it, but barely, okay? They clipped the rough and they rolled out. Same thing, it left them with a wedge shot for the eagle, and they also made it. So extra mile 5 and a berserker did make it. And like I always say, keep your berserkers for tournaments. On the golden shot, load up for them. Load up on them because you never know when we're going to need it. Okay, hole number 2, we'll go a little bit faster on because I don't have a whole lot here for you. We are taking a quarterback at 20% elevation, playing it at mid-distance. Full right spin, a little bit more than 1 bar of top spin. And here it's all about, how good a visualization do you have? Because we're trying to get this ball to aim at the pin. You can see I'm definitely way low here. But, we just take the shot like this. And the only thing that I could say is if I would have used maybe a click of overpower, because here this is just a normal shot, but if I might maybe use a tad of overpower, and we want to be careful because we don't want to go up onto that rough, right, with overpower. But I think if I put just a little bit of juice on it, we could have came in a little bit higher and maybe not missed that by a green square short. But regardless, this is a funnel shot. We do our best with hole number 2, and we'll try to find a better ball guideline later on down the road. Hole 3, I do think hole 3 is going to be the most difficult hole for most players just because of the wind and then these trees that can get in your way. So here's what my setup looks like. I'm putting my yellow ring on the rough line there. Ball guideline pointing into the rough. And we have to back up our target because we want to be able to pull our rings, and we're going to pull this at mid-distance, 20%. And then here, we're going to use overpower, but not a ton, combined with half a bar of curl to the right. We use the half bar of curl to the right because remember, our ball guideline was pointing to the rough. We want to make sure we don't go into the rough. So that right curl keeps us out of the rough, and it's going to leave us for shot number 2. Shot number 2 can be tricky, and you'll see that in my notes. I tell you about this tree right here. Sometimes because we're looking way up here where our target is, we lose track of this tree down here, and I want you to notice how close my ball guideline is to these tree branches. Now, in this wind angle, we are going to be okay. However, I want you to keep in mind that as the tournament progresses and the wind angle changes, if we have to pull our rings to the left, we're going to pull our rings into the tree branches, and you will hit the branches. Trust me, I found out the hard way in a tournament one time, and because I didn't notice that, it actually cost me a gold. I ended up tying for the tournament, and had I just picked up my eagle on this par 5, I would have won. But you can see here, we're not hitting the tree branches. Our ball guideline is still fully developed. I am using a big dog for shot number 2. You can use a sniper if you want, but I just prefer the big dog here for the power, as I think this is going to be a very tough hole to pick up an albatross on anyways. As you can see here, we come in a little bit hot, and we come in on the left-hand side of the pin. But all in all, I'll be honest, I'm going to take that on hole number 3 all day. Here is a sniper shot, just in case somebody wants to see it with the sniper. I went ahead and played it both ways for you. Getting the speed is a little bit, harder because you don't have the ball guideline to get you to pin like we normally do with a sniper. But again, you see how close we come to those trees right there. I mean, I hate to keep stressing it so much, but I know somebody watching this is going to clip those trees, and just be careful for it, okay? But that's it. That's hole number 3. We're starting off with a -5. Everything's looking good. -5 through 3. It's always a good start. Okay, hole number 4 we're really close on. So hole 4, 0.3 bars of backspin. And kind of notice my setup point is down here. I'm playing it kind of straight at the pin with my blue ring on the rough line. And even with that backspin, our ball guideline is still going to the pin. Now, I want you to notice the offset to the left. This is a very odd offset because we're getting wind blowing to the left as well. Now, it is headwind, but it's still blowing to the left. And you're going to notice here I'm offsetting to the left. Perfect ball. And even though we offset to the left, we still missed by half a green square to the right. So what I would really like you to do is use the same backspin, and then I would start with adding 1/2 a bar of right side spin and aim in the exact same spot. Now, I'm not 100% positive what that's going to do, but, just thinking through it, I think it should be closer to the hole-in-one. And, if you're a player that has multiple rookie accounts, I would start to dial it in that way. The benefit is you got to see how I missed on a perfect ball, and then you can work with that. Okay, hole number 5, we're going to be using a navigator. That's all that we need. And again, this is going to be a situation to where we have headwind. So, the game right now on rookie is giving us a lot of headwind. So hopefully in the future rounds, we'll get tailwind to make some of these holes easier and more droppable. But you can see here, I really had to back up my quarterback in order to pull my rings accurately. I'm using just a baby amount of overpower because when I went to pull my rings, I did pull into overpower. So I needed to compensate with that on my drive. And we hit a perfect ball and we come in really nicely onto the fairway. The thing about this hole is, we learned from tournaments past, we do not want to gain a bunch of distance on the drive, which is why this time around I'm playing with the quarterback. In previous tournaments, I played with the extra mile, and the rough bump didn't play near as nicely because I was using long irons. Here, I want to make sure that I'm in my sniper range. So we're going to play this minus 20% at mid. That's going to be extremely important. We're going to be playing this uphill, even though it's not. But that's just how this hole has always worked. Okay, notice right here, 1 bar of side spin to the right, 1.1 bars of backspin. Sorry, 1 bar of side spin to the right, and then we go with about 1/2 a bar of backspin. I forget that I changed it. Notice this shot here is aiming directly at the pin. This is only 2.1 rings and 3 mile/hour wind. So note, that's a very small adjustment for a sniper, but that's because we are playing this one uphill. But you're going to see here that we just come in and we barely miss. Barely miss. So I decided this time on this account to use the same spin. I like the speed, but you're going to see here that I'm gonna offset here to the right-hand side because we just barely missed to the left. So here I don't have the ball guideline in the cup at all. I've got it on the outside of the cup. Same thing, minus 20%. You'll have to check the distance of your club if you're at minimum, mid, or max. And this time the ball guideline went right at where I put it. So if you refer back to my notes, this is what I suggest that you do. And again, I'm not going to do this note thing too much, but some people ask how I come up with my suggestions because they normally work. So hole number 5, 1 right spin and 3 back, 0.3 back. Going to need to offset in the pin, but the right-hand side. So if you remember, on that last shot, I offset on the right-hand side, but not in the cup. I want you to offset to the right-hand side in the cup and see what happens. Okay, hole number 6 here, we're going to play 10%. Now, here's what I can tell you. If you're somebody who wants to gamble, okay, you could pull out a Kingmaker or a Berserker, or if you buy balls, you could absolutely do like a Wind 4, Power 4 ball. Something with a high wind resistance and good power would be awesome for this hole. And you could go right up here where I'm looking at. That will be a shot that we play later on, especially with tailwind or crosswind. But I'm trying to keep this relatable for as many people as possible. So we're going to go ahead and just play right here with a katana. And, I don't really have to pull my rings because we're getting pretty easy headwind. So, I just moved my target over to the right a little bit to account for that and just took a normal shot. 4.5 bars of topspin is what you're seeing on this shot, which is plenty. We don't want to roll into the rough at the top there. But more importantly, we're going to talk about shot number 2. Shot number 2, you can use whatever long iron you're comfortable with. You could use a Backbone, you could use a Goliath, you could even use a Saturn. Saturn is not a club that I recommend too often, but for the backspin on this shot, it may be a good one. I don't know. I don't use it. But the rough bump is a little tricky here, so I decided not to go with it. And I'm going to go with 1 bar of right side spin and almost 4 bars of backspin. And we're really close on this one, everybody. So notice here, I'm offsetting just a little bit to the right-hand side. I'm aiming on the outer right part of the cup. I pulled this one 10% at mid. Again, you'll need to check your own distance of your club. Depending on how many yards you get on your drive, you might be at max distance. But here, I'm at mid. And that is ever so close to dropping. So I would say that this green just slopes from left to right pretty significant. So I would go ahead and offset that shot. I would start 1 green square to the right of the cup. And I know that sounds like a lot, and it might be, but that's what I would try. And again, if you have multiple rookie accounts, that's where I would start on your next adjustment. Like if I had another shot at it, that's what I would do. And then if you miss, then just, readjust from there. But this video has enough content to easily get you to qualify at the top of your standings. So here we go. So we are going to be playing hole number 7 here. And this hole has a good funnel. And I always have a hard time finding it. I always feel like I'm up against the clock. I typically know it takes a little bit of top spin. It takes some right side spin, which I used. And then I finally find the funnel here. So, I'm running out of time. As you can see, my clock is ticking. So I'm going to pull this one at max 10%. Now, I hit a great ball to the right. That's why I said at the beginning of the video I had a little fluky hole-in-one here. So I don't know if it's a fluke or I don't know if the funnel is just that darn good. I doubt that. I think it's probably just lucky. But, we are dead center at the pin. We smacked the pin, and we're in for a hole-in-one. So that kind of gives you an idea of how to play it. All right, now I'm going to show everybody 2 different ways to play hole number 8 because, again, this is probably one of the easiest eagles you're going to have on a par 4. So this one, I have a navigator ball, and I'm at max backspin with my extra mile, and I'm still too far past the hole. But regardless, I'm just going to pull this one 10% at max and then take the shot. Now, I do wonder, and I did not try it because I wanted to show some true rookies another way to play this hole. I wonder if we could take the rock club that has a lot of backspin and a little bit less power than the extra mile and try to dial in a hole-in-one. I would love some people to try that and let me know in the comments how you do. So I wonder what a rock club would do. Now, I don't know if we need to use a Kingmaker, a Titan, a Katana with a rock club. We might need a little bit more power. Maybe, maybe not. But I do think it would be a fun shot to try to dial in a hole-in-one on. Okay, now for everybody else who doesn't have an extra mile level 8, let's say you got maybe like a 5 or a 6, you can definitely play back here and use your 4.5 bars of top spin with 1 bar of right side spin. The thing to note, what you want to happen, okay, is this is what you want your ball guideline to look like right here. You want to make sure that that second bounce is in the rough because you're going to use that to roll out. I'm going to be playing this one at minimum distance. A tree gets in your way there. I'm sorry, you should be playing this one at minimum distance. Perfect ball, and you'll see here my ball guideline goes exactly where we want it to. Now, you'll notice that when I went to pull my rings, I was getting caught in between clubs because I was at absolute minimum. You're better off to play that shot with a marlin, okay? That shot, better off with a marlin and then pull your rings. That way you don't get caught in between clubs. And then we're going to go to hole number 9. Hole number 9, I'm going to show you 2 different ways to play. This is my first attempt. I thought about going this way, and that shot is definitely there, especially in crosswind or in tailwind. But, for some people who don't want to gamble and want to take this one as a normal way, this is how you do it. What I would recommend here is you see that I'm using full backspin. I would definitely switch this shot to a quarterback, okay? I would play this shot with a quarterback, and I would want you to land, in this area that I'm aiming for here. This is a tricky, oh shoot. This is a tricky par 5. We want to aim, okay. We want to get our ball like over here, like in this zone, so that we get a clear shot to the pin or to the green. I don't do a very good job of that with the extra mile on this shot, which is why I would switch this to a quarterback. I should have probably used some left curl too, but again, I was running up against the clock, so I just needed to shoot. And you can see here, too much backspin, but ultimately it's okay because we're bringing the big dog, which is the club that I definitely suggest. So even though I had a bad drive, I want you to notice here I have plenty of juice to get to the green in 2 easily. And this shot comes dangerously close to an albatross. So we can pull this one at 0% at max. And we're going to go pretty heavy here on the curl. And then I'll show you another way to play this hole next. But you can see, this one comes in really nice. And we stick this one, again, about a green square away from an albatross. So ultimately a good shot. Now, if you want to gamble and if you want to really try to get yourself an albatross, you can play this way. But, man, you're going to have to hit this drive perfect. You don't have a lot of room for error, I should say. So, Berserker, you could do this with a Kingmaker, too. I'm very confident that the wind resistance 3 on that Kingmaker would allow you to get there. Because you can see here, I'm not even at full overpower, not even close. This is almost a normal shot, just a little bit of OP. But I do kick this ball off the fairway and get it to roll onto the next fairway, leaving me with a grizzly shot for shot number 2. That's how I would play this hole. That's how we've played it in the past. Grizzly shot for shot number 2. The only thing that is difficult here is this green is glitchy. So you need to find yourself a good spot. And you're going to see here that the ball guideline did not play true. I went with max backspin. I'm even leaving the ball guideline very heavily through the hole because of the tailwind or because of the headwind. I pulled this one like 4.6 rings. I pulled it 10% at max. Just a baseline to start with. Great ball. So we're not going to learn a lot from that, but we will learn that this ball dies. So I think we need to find a better line to the pin. But regardless, that is a way to play hole number 9 if you like to gamble and take some risk. I hope you find the video helpful. Please become a subscriber if you're not one and hit that thumbs up button for me. Thanks, everybody.